the shore, just out of reach.
God, I still can't believe I outed that minion. Oh, hey, you're here. I'm Russia. Maybe you're new to this channel. Maybe you've been here before. But I feel I never really introduced myself properly. I'm someone who's really crazy about League. Maybe more than people should be with it. And I love doing one thing in particular, more than anything. It's finding very weird shit and making it work. Now, I'm not talking about being the next Yuumi full AD jungle strat to Masters, okay? But I always strive to find new ways for people to play and expand what they can do in the game. And I got into streaming and now making more of these videos that I hope you enjoy, so I can share my experience with everyone. And everyone in turn could share their experiences with me. So let's say you find a really good strategy that you think is going to dominate. You can just talk to me, share it, and everyone else is going to try it. And by everyone being together and trying it, we'll get a lot further than if you only tested it yourself. So, what you saw in the intro was a little remnant of that. Zeri Jungle and K'Sante support, Zeri Jungle being an idea from chat, and K'Sante support being an idea from me. I know, I'm the crazy one. And I know it's a crazy idea from me because everyone dodged it in solo queue. Hey, it still worked though, and you actually should try it. And you'll eventually know why, once I do finish the video about it. But for now, this is for something different. If you're wondering when I even played those champions in those weird positions, because I have a weekly challenge on my stream. Me and chat vote every Monday on the next champion I'm going to be playing for an entire week. And during that week, I'm going to try my best to, get a good build, get a good runes, try my best to make that champion in that position work as best as it can. Of course, it has to be something relatively doable. No one's really going to have enjoyment seeing the Yuumi full AD. But to a certain degree, we want to explore our options and make sure we get the best out of a situation as we possibly can, and maybe we find something that no one else really has tried to. And speaking of K'Sante, and like I said before, right now I'm working on his video. It's a bit longer than other characters because he's kind of my baby, so I really want to make good by him. But while I was doing his video on this recent challenge with Zeri, I discovered something quite incredible. And I decided I should make a video about it so everyone else has a clear idea that this exists and, they should definitely try it. It's quite fun. And I think a lot more powerful than people actually give it credit for. So, our little experiment begins on Math Mondays. It's a little thing I do every beginning of the week where I speak about the previous champion that we did, everything we learned about it, and we do a little poll to check which other champion we're going to do. In this particular week, it was pretty alright. The previous week and the champion wasn't that great. We did run out of mid and it was kind of sucked ass, to be honest. And even though it was god-awful, I still think it's really important to do these kinds of situations, even on bad picks, because it's a great way to showcase what kind of method we use, and you should also use, to determine if a champion is good or bad. Because a lot of times, even if the games do go badly in a given week, maybe the champion does have some actual opportunities that you can do something great with it. The fact is, you can't really control the games or the teams you get. So having an understanding of why something functions and doesn't function gives a better idea of why something failed or even succeeded. And I think it's always important to, at the end of the week, we collect our thoughts and we determine what happened. For example, on Rek'Sai, it was okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. On K'Sante, it's actually really good, and you're gonna love the video, I promise. But on Renata, she struggles, and struggling is being very nice about it. She sucks. But this is not about Renata. It's just about what we were doing. After deciding and talking about Renata, someone said in chat that we should do Zeri Jungle. And I kind of like the idea. I've seen Zeri Jungle before. I know Drutut used to do it quite a lot, especially when he was climbing jungle. So the idea wasn't too, new. So I wanted to spice it up a bit. I decided to go off-tank Zeri. So the idea of the off-tank Zeri is between Stridebreaker, Hurricane, and Black Cleaver, I could be a very nuisance-oriented champion that would just shred armor off everyone. And no one can really catch me because I have Stridebreaker, Black Cleaver. I'm just gonna run. The idea kind of functioned okay, but yeah, turns out playing a champion for the first time with a weird build doesn't go too well. If this was going to work, I had to learn Zeri before anything else. So I swapped to standard AD. I needed to get some familiarity with Zeri before I even tried something that crazy. It took a couple of days, I got some good clips. I actually played okay in some situations. Most of them it was pretty bad. Can't really learn Zeri all in 1 week, but we can do our best to at least have an understanding of the limits that she can pull and how to use their abilities as best as we can. And by Thursday, I felt pretty confident. So I went to practice to warm up before going for the mythical Bruiser build and show its power. And they banned Zeri. Well, it's okay. It's not too bad. I'll just pick something quick. Try and finish the game before anyone can do anything. At least like that, I still have some time to do Zeri jungle. It's not too bad. Between today and tomorrow, after 2 days, it should be more than okay to get this working. So I picked Sejuani and I'll do my best. Game was great. I was killing everyone. I was a menace out there. And then something happened. Since the game was going so well, I kind of went to check if my team was doing just as well as me, because honestly, it felt like we were so ahead. And that's kind of when it hit me. I saw Milio's build, and what the fuck is he building? It's like, Milio with Bloodletter Curse? What the fuck's the idea on that? Clearly he had something going on. Even his support item was pretty out there for, anything. I assumed he was probably doing some weird, ultimate bravery thing? But why that item of all items he could have chosen from? I've never seen that anywhere. Especially not on a Milio. No one builds that item. I've seen a brand or two, Milio? I can't really wrap my finger around it. But it really got me curious, so I really started thinking, how could you possibly build that? Or make it even work? Here. Here's why this is so weird, right? Look at this item. It's got AP, it's got HP, it's got, cooldown reduction. It's pretty good for Milio. It's not great. He has a lot better options, but what does this item have that is so special? The passive is kind of interesting, but he has to use abilities, and he can only use his Q. Wait. Does that say passive? Oh my god. And then it hit me. Milio's passive. It's technically a burn. It doesn't really apply Leandries or other items though, so I didn't really know how well that was gonna be. But before I even could collect my thoughts, kind of saw something very, very promising. That's right. I touched the enemy, but he still lost the magic resist. Apparently the item functions really well on Milio's passive. It was a pure eureka moment. It's incredible. It was fantastic. I had so many ideas on how this could work and how you can maximize it. Pair it with some champions that could take this beyond even natural limits of what Lee can do. This Milio was a fucking genius, and I couldn't tell if he was just that smart or saw it somewhere. I tried talking to him, but he really wasn't there to speak, or he didn't say anything about it. So once the game ended, I immediately started doing calculations with the rest of the chat. Verify everything, make sure we know how much this can actually be taken to. We ended up discovering that any Milio with this item, if they shield or heal anyone on the team with his abilities, they will get the debuff to be placed on the enemies. Now, the way this works is that Milio's passive empowers its allies, both abilities and auto attacks, to burn enemies for a bit of their power. Not much, but it's quite enough to just make the item tick. So you can imagine, one Syndra orb, and all of a sudden, enemies have 3 stacks and half their magic resist gone. It was pretty overwhelming just how quick anyone could proc this. The best part is how penetration functions in League. So both in terms of armor and MR, if you want something to, destroy those defenses, you can only buy a single item per teammate. So think about it this way. If you buy a Void Staff, you can't really have any other item that really shreds magic resist unless it's flat. So in the case of a AD carry, you can't have Black Cleaver and Lord Dominic's. In case of AP, you can't have Void Staff and, let's say, Abyssal Mask, or even this item, Bloodletter's Curse. What this allows you to do with Milio is basically your teammate with the Void Staff basically has a free Bloodletter's Curse on him at all times, as long as you effectively heal him or shield him once. To some, it might not be too great, and there are some situations where you can't really build the item because it really has no value. But if you have at least just 2 AP on your team, it's dangerous. I mean, I don't think dangerous is the right word. You basically do true damage to anyone. The damage you can output with this was insane. And the best part is you don't even need to use abilities. Your attack doesn't even need to be magic damage for it to proc on enemies. You can be a Jinx and you just spread out like a wildfire with one rocket. It was crazy. We saw tanks literally die like they were ADCs. I've never seen someone die so quickly. It felt like it was back before durability patch. And it didn't even reduce Milio power to protect his team. And it paired really well with almost everyone. Now, this was all theoretical. Although everything works pretty well, we kind of needed to test it. Now, I'm not that great at Milio. I was thinking this could be a very interesting mid angle, or even support. It was kind of steep in terms of price for, regular other support items. But it's not like the stats were bad. It just felt a bit awkward. I attempted doing it in mid. I figured, well, at least it wouldn't be too bad. But before I went to test on our mid, I spoke to a friend of mine. He's a D1 player, so he's pretty savvy to the game, and he's especially good on enchanters. So I figured, hey, I have this idea. Maybe they could help out. So I reached out to them to do a couple of the games. I'd play what I believed was one of the best champions to pair this with, and they'd play Milio. And yeah, the results were almost too good to be true. It was insane. The amount of magic resist we were taking away from everyone was insane. It powered up a lot better than we actually calculated, and we assumed like something was wrong. Maybe it bugged on that specific game, so we tried a couple more, and the result was the same. It was just insane. We were getting surrenders after surrenders after surrenders. No one wanted to play with this more than a couple of minutes. It was impossible. People were dying so quickly. It was like we were doing fucking lethality. It was insane. It didn't make sense just how good it was. We knew it was powerful, but we didn't expect it would be this powerful. It's just removing magic resist. Just how strong can this really be? And that got us thinking, if it's this strong, surely someone else figured this out. Well, that Milio clearly was doing it. He must have seen it somewhere. Or maybe he's just that much of a genius. So we kind of searched. And we searched. And we searched. But nothing. Not YouTube. Not Google. Barely Reddit. We saw one post like 2 days after the fact that we discovered. Someone posted like a month ago about it, but it barely got any traction and no one really gave two thoughts about it. It was weird that no one noticed it. And with that in mind, that's when I come in. You see, I kind of understand and realize that, I have a great platform to tell everyone you should try this. Even if just once. Maybe it won't go too well for you guys, but it certainly has gone way too good for me. And I think it's really important to have people, experiment with these kinds of things. Now, I can't just tell you to buy this item without any guidance. My objective here is to give you some perspective on what you should do and how to do it the best way possible. I'm going to give you some pointers, mostly on how to build it, where to slot it in, and kind of the general rules and sums of the situation. Nothing too specific. We didn't really have much time. I just rather have the video out there so you guys have some knowledge of the situation and try it for yourselves. And then from there, maybe next week on Math Mondays, I'll probably do a bigger video with a lot more detail. Okay, so for a little, simmer of the situation, if you want to build this item and you have Milio, do not use this item if your team is full AD. There's no point to it. The entire reason about this is just it takes away magic resist. If you don't have magic damage, there's no real point to this. Now, if you do have at least 1 AP or even 2, this is fantastic. This is great. You should, probably not do it first item. You don't really need to rush it. But if your AD carries an on-hit champion like Varus, Kog'Maw, Kai'Sa is also pretty good, and Twitch, but aside from those, the item can have it can start becoming a lot weaker than other options, especially because of its price point. So if you see any of these champions as your AD carry, don't worry, you can do it first item. Otherwise, try going for second. Focus on doing a first item like either Ardent Sensor, Moonstone, things of that nature that help you power into the next item quite more easily. And once you have that second item, the Bloodletter Curse, you can really go hard and not be afraid of anything. Despite you might feel like the item is not that great, especially because it doesn't give you any shield power, the extra AP does go a long way to kind of mitigate that situation. So you might not feel that much of a difference compared to other items. Well, not in terms of healing, definitely in terms of damage. One of my favorite things to do with this item is pairing it with a Staff of Flowing Water or even a Hardened Sensor. Since both Hardened Sensor giving 20 magic damage on hit to your allies and Staff of Flowing Water giving flat AP, it kind of works really well with the item itself. Since you're already taking magic resist, it's just extra damage you're giving to your allies twice. I'm gonna leave on the side the runes I used during this. If you want mid runes and build, I'll also leave it here. It's a bit different, but basically you can rush this item if you're doing mid. Like at level 4, you're at level 4. At 4 points in Q, you basically cleared the back minions with 1 Q, so you don't really need to worry about anything else. One of the issues we had on Renata, which you'll hear about, is that I could never clear the wave. It's one of the biggest issues that any champion in mid need to have, is a way to clear safely the wave. But Milio, because of all of his AP damage on Q, can pretty much just kill it if you have even a slight bit of AP. So even if you're just rushing this item, you'll definitely have enough to kill the backline. The other great part of this is that Milio in itself doesn't need to play a different way because of this. It's not something specific you need to watch out for. No, it's just something very passive that exists while you're already regularly playing Milio. It's not, something impossible for your team to adjust to, or even yourself. You just have to be somewhat slightly more aware that your W will give a damage boost and your E also gives you a damage boost. It's not that difficult. It's very similar to how you'd play Milio normally. You just protect your team. Here, the little adjustment I like to do is I put my W on my allies at the beginning of the fights as to stack as much of the passive as possible on my allies, so enemies will get magic resist reduced immediately, and I save my E for saving them. But even then, it's not really that necessary. As long as you play Milio like Milio wants to be played, you're gonna be pretty okay, and you'll do a lot more damage than you expect. Now, if you do try this build, and I hope you do, please do find some way of posting your results or even telling me how you feel. My intention with League and my presence online is to give a space for us together to learn and improve and take League to a different level. And the more people are open about the things they believe could work, the more we can discover and take the game forward. So if you're doing well with the build, let us know. If you're doing bad, that's also fantastic information. Maybe we can, discover why it's not working, and it might not be working for other people as well, and we could, fix it. So if you think you have a great idea, come share it, either on my Twitch channel or by leaving a comment below. I'd love to hear it and test it. Now, I gotta go play a little bit more Milio support because it's just fun. Thank you a ton for watching, And I hope you try it and let me know what happens. Bye bye.